Hey, everybody, Kevin here with Pursuing Pixels, and welcome back to another edition of Save It for the Cast. And as always, we're going to get to the chit-chat and whatnot in just a few minutes here after I rattle off some of the games and whatnot that I've been getting up to lately, although I haven't been doing a ton of gaming lately because, as per usual, or at least as of late, I don't know if you can hear the slight difference. I think I've mentioned this a couple times, but in the audio quality, I feel like there's just like a little more echo, a little more room noise now that I've been packing up and gearing up for my move at the end of this month. And it was just my birthday at the start of this month, at the start of September. And on my birthday, I know I've just been going hog wild on these Sokpop games, but they released their newest game right on my birthday, so I feel like I was like, I got to give this game a quick shout out. It's called Ballspell, and if you're familiar with the game Zuma, which is a game that I feel like I used to play, I don't know if it was on like the computers at school or if I just had some like weird, I know it was on like a lot of those like compilations, CD-ROM, like family compilation, 10 games in one or whatever. I feel like we had a bunch of those at Best Buy, although I feel like I never bought any of those, so I don't really know where my Zuma experience comes from, but this game is like very, very Zuma inspired, and again, it's called Ballspell from Sokpop, and it's got like, again, just those kind of zigzagging, squiggly, spiraling, like almost like a tower defense in a way. It's like, the enemies are like the puzzle pieces. It's kind of like a match 3 arcade puzzler, but it's got that awesome, I guess Sokpop games don't have like a distinct style in and of themselves, but again, like even on their page, and I've said this before, I'm sure, but they say like all of our games have like that like specific or that distinct Sokpop energy, and I think that's a great way to put it. But it's got this like really great like hand-drawn squiggly art style, and it's just like a little more going on than what was going on in Zuma, in the sense that like not only are there like the different like colors for the puzzle pieces that you have to like match 3 essentially or whatever to break the puzzle pieces apart, but you're essentially like you're a wizard and you're like casting magic spells at the different like enemy types, and instead of just being like puzzle pieces, they are like enemy types. So like you might get like a green slime that once you kill it, it's like a large slime, and then it blows up into like 3 or 4 smaller slimes. Or you might get like thundercloud that like after you like aggravate it, or I can't remember what exactly triggers it, but it'll like for a few turns or for a limited amount of time, it'll like cast like or maybe it's for the entire time that it's like aggravated by this like specific condition or whatever, but it like casts like a fog of war, like clouds over the surrounding puzzle pieces, so like you can't see what's on the path. I mean, you can remember what was there, but the cool thing about this game as well, I'm not going to get too deep into it because it is essentially Zuma with just some added mechanics, but there are like 5 or 6 different levels, each where you have to like beat a teacher, which then gives you a new like powerful spell that you can like cycle between and unlock, and then cast those at the different enemy types and whatever. And there's like 5 different level types, or 5 or 6 different levels, and then you can like play each of those levels endlessly after you beat the teacher on any given stage. So just a really, really cool take on Zuma, I guess, with a really cool art style, some really cool music, and I'm just so unbelievably hooked on these Sokpop games. It's just I guess it's gonna be the gift that keeps on giving. But I did get a chance to squeeze in another hang with DJ, and hopefully I'll be able to get a couple more in before I head back to Michigan. But we were able to polish off the co-op campaign of BOXBOY and BOXGIRL, which I just talked about with Randall on the podcast recently. But yeah, we just had like the final world. We kept saying, how many more worlds do you think are left? And like the final world is literally called The Last World, although it is called The Last World ×2. And you never know with video games, like, okay, how many I don't know how many different like final iterations of the boss are there going to be or whatever. But this game is just absolutely mind-blowing in the sense of how much is in the game. Because we did polish off this like co-op campaign, just the final world of it, and we really only had like 3 or 4 extra levels left to do. But again, there is a full-blown extra single-player campaign, and then apparently after you beat the single-player campaign, because we like unlocked some stuff that seemed like, oh man, is there going to be like some like post-game or secret ending or whatever? And I believe there is, but I think you have to like not only beat the single-player campaign, but then you unlock after that a whole separate campaign, single-player campaign, where you play as like a rectangle instead of a square named Cutie, which is just adorable. But it's just mind-blowing. And when we beat the game, it said to be continued. So I know when I mentioned with Randall on the podcast, maybe that was just mentioning like the post-game secret ending or whatever, but I feel like I was like, man, are they going to make another BOXBOY game or another entry in this series, maybe a Cutie Boy game. But yeah, I'm really pumped. I'm really glad DJ and I finally polished this off because, yeah, I don't know if I would have been able to just pick this up with anybody else. I would have had to probably start from scratch because they do kind of layer the mechanics, like, you know, you learn things as you go and you kind of build on what you've learned so far. But since we didn't have so much left to do on that game, like, again, there was only like 3, 4, maybe 5 levels left to complete, we bounced over and polished off the rest of Strikey Sisters, which is another game I know we've talked about on the podcast. And I feel like we've been kind of a little bit of like fanboys of the stuff from DYA games. And they made not only Strikey Sisters, but Bot Vice. And I'm pretty sure I've mentioned Super Puzzle Fighter, or not Super Puzzle Fighter, Super Star Path, which is kind of like a puzzle 'em up, like shoot 'em up, puzzle 'em up match 3 game. But yeah, and Strikey Sisters is essentially like a breakout Arkanoid style game, but it's got 2-player couch co-op, which is, I know that was like Randall and I's only gripe about Bot Vice, which is more of like a arcade arena shooter. And I guess I'm just kind of lumping these all together because I feel like DYA does such a great job of like that 16-bit, almost borderline 32-bit, but they really do feel like, I don't know, they really feel like Super Nintendo era to me. Just something about that, like the color palettes they choose, like a lot of purples and greens and blues. Like, I don't know what it is exactly, but yeah, it does feel like just really amazing 16-bit pixel art, and Strikey Sisters is no exception. It's a little bit like some of the voice acting is like beyond cheesy when you're going in between, but you can just breeze right through the cutscenes, and it's only when you're like squaring up against a boss, but there's like just a ton of different stages, a ton of different enemy types, and you just have to clear all the, you know, the blocks, you know, typical breakout style, and then if there are still enemies left on the screen, you have to clear all of them as well. But it gets pretty difficult towards the end. Like, we were like, oh shit, this game has given us a good ass kicking here, but in the best possible way. But yeah, really had a good time polishing off those couple of games. I kind of forgot that DJ and I had made so much progress on Strikey Sisters, but yeah, just another great, like all the DYA stuff there. I think Super Star Path, I think, is only $5, but all the rest of their games are usually $10, whether on Switch or on whatever various platforms. But I feel like they go on sale all the time for like $2 or $5 or $3 or whatever. I feel like that's probably the only reason I stumbled across their stuff, because there's just so many games on the eShop. I probably just found it scrolling through the stuff on sale and said, hey, this looks pretty cool, worth giving a chance for $2 or $3. And boy, have I not been disappointed. Like, I've really loved everything I've played from them. The only one I haven't given a chance is I think they might even have 2 like kind of horror themed, like they definitely feel like top-down action RPGs. I think one of them's called like Viviette or something like that. I could be totally speaking out of turn. But yeah, they do look pretty cool, like kind of Resident Evil-ish, Silent Hill-ish, which those kind of games just aren't really what I gravitate towards typically. But knowing the DYA lineage and just like not lineage, but quality level or whatever, I'm definitely a little more inclined to say, hey, maybe these might be games that could get me into that genre a little bit. But yeah, we had a quick little session too with our buddy Glenn in town, which has been awesome to squeeze some gaming in and just get some hangs in with Glenn, who I know I've mentioned on the podcast before, moved to Seattle, one of John and I's bandmates, and just really good friends. But yeah, we got a quick conduct together session, and we were mostly just kind of hanging out and shooting the shit, but it was just awesome to play a little conduct together and how quickly you can just snap right into that game. And like, as long as it's somebody who's relatively familiar with playing with a controller, and again, you're just kind of rerouting trains. It's kind of like an action arcade puzzle game, but like you're all simultaneous. And this is another game we've talked about on the podcast before too, so I'm not going to dig deep into it, but yeah, it was just a perfect game where like we go from like conversing and making all sorts of mistakes to like really getting into that flow state of just like basically being silent and just like calling out like the number or the letter of the train or whatever, the button that's associated with it, and just like, you got this? Okay. And like, I just really love those games where you can just get into a total like zone out state, but you're like all on the same wavelength, or sometimes totally not on the same wavelength, and keep screwing each other over by, you know, flipping the same toggle of the tracks or whatever, you know, stopping and starting the trains at the same time or whatever. It's such a cool, chaotic multiplayer arcade game. The multiplayer being only on the Switch version. Again, that's Conduct Together. We went into it on the podcast, John and I, about like the whole Conduct series, but I'd say they're all recommended, but I really think this multiplayer version on Switch is probably the best, iteration of the series, and I think that's pretty much what John and I said before when we talked about it on the podcast. But yeah, I wasn't even 100% planning on talking about Conduct Together there, but I glanced down at my notes here and I had it written down, so I just kept rolling, I guess. But yeah, I think I can toss it over to Randall and I from here. And I will say we talk a little bit of video games for sure, but we're definitely getting into all sorts of stuff like, again, my moving update process, but also talking about like wrestling and just, yeah, all sorts of nonsense. We can actually get pretty deep into the wrestling, both WWE and AEW. Apparently, Randall's been like secretly watching wrestling behind our backs. Not that I'm the most diehard fan, but yeah, Randall kind of surprised me like, oh, you've been keeping up with like some of the pay-per-views and stuff. Too funny. But yeah, I think I can toss it over to the chit chat from here. And as always, we'll catch you next week. And until then, take care.
I have the slightly different setup because I got a sit-stand desk.
Ooh, is that an upgrade, I'm assuming?
Yeah, oh yeah. Although I am sitting and not standing right now because I still need to get like a modern laptop to hook up to what I've got going with my like work computer station. So yeah, it's like this old Surface computer is not compatible with it, so I still have to just use a Surface on it. But no, it's been nice. But it meant that I had to change my setup a little bit to lower my microphone, but it wasn't very balanced. So I'm using some DK bongos that I found to balance the back of the microphone stand.
Are they in the box or are they loose?
No, they're loose. These are loose, guys. I think I got them for like less than $5 from some game store 100 years ago, you know.
Yeah, I know I got some like stupid deal I'm pretty sure it was GameStop, and it was like $10 for like 2 sets of bongos and Donkey Kong Jungle Beat. Ooh. Like it was just like, it was pretty much like they were just clearancing them out and like just get these piles out of our warehouses. You know, they were like, this is the next Guitar Hero. Oh no, it's not.
And these things take up way too much room.
Awesome game, honestly. That game is like, it's hard to call it a great, it's such a weird like one-off thing, but it really is a cool game, Jungle Beat.
I know. I still need to give it the time of day. Like I've never fully played it like twice. Just like played the first level. I'm like, oh yeah, that is cool. But like, yeah, I just need to stick with it and see it through because it's such a unique experience, and it's made by the people that made Mario Galaxy. So, you know.
Ooh, I didn't know that, actually.
Yeah.
That's even more interesting because, yeah, you know, that's my favorite of the 3D Marios. So.
Right. At least I'm pretty sure that I've heard that before, so I might be just forwarding bad rumors, but I thought that I had heard that.
I mean, there's, you know, Nintendo shuffles around the first party people quite a bit, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Yes.
But yeah, I kind of have had the same experience with you with that game. Like maybe played the first 2-3 levels or something and just kind of like, oh, this actually kind of works. And then like thought like, I should play this someday, and then never actually have done it.
I know, and it's probably not even like that horrifically long to play through, considering.
Oh, it's got to be short, yeah.
The control scheme and everything, right? Like, you have the certain level of endurance needed if it's like a traditionally long platformer to play with, while you're slapping a controller for hours. Not to mention like
the clapping mechanic where you have to like, just like, okay. But yeah, even that worked better than it had any right to, you know? It really did. Like you never felt like, oh, it didn't register my clap.
I know.
So I'm sure it happened, but yeah. But how you feeling? Getting over the recovery? The whole family's back to maybe full strength?
Yeah,
not quite,
yeah.
But close.
Within the last few days or so, it's been better. Although we immediately turned around, and once we started feeling better. So we also got a new water heater installed in our house because like when we bought the house, this water heater was here, and it was from like 1997, and they basically say like after 10 years your water heater is not giving you what it should anymore, basically. Like if it's an old school traditional water heater, it's like no longer in peak form after 10 or so years. And
as in, like, you're paying for more energy than it's actually, like, putting out, essentially. Like, it's not able to keep up, kind of.
Right. It's having to work harder to give you worse results. And this costs more energy and water, like, because then you're also letting the water run for longer to get to the hot water in the first place.
Right.
And then there's
tank's
less
only
hot
so
water.
big.
Yeah. Like, so, but, we were just letting it limp along. We got it, like, kind of repaired early on because we had homeowners insurance and had them do a bunch of things in this house because it wasn't upkept. But that's how, to be fair, that's how we were able to buy it in the first place. So I can't complain about that.
For sure. That's like, get it now and then chip away at fixing up the things as you're able to, But then you're able to kind of like get a place that you like right off the bat, but then you can customize it and like, okay, cool. Now we can afford to do this. Okay, let's make the living room the way we want it, or, whatever the various updates need to be. Obviously a water heater is less exciting.
Oh yeah.
But I bet you it still kind of is when it's your house and, you're just like, oh, I got to upgrade. At least it's not like, I don't know, buying something that I need in my apartment that's just going to, go to waste.
But even then, I'll tell you, like, pretty much everything from our apartment living, we transitioned into this house. Like,
nice.
Because our apartment was a lot smaller than this house is. We were like, oh, I mean, we need furniture. And like, our apartment furniture is still cool enough to be like our downstairs furniture for the most part. And like, just kind of mix and match, and pretty much everything, got brought in and is still being used one way or the other. So it's like,
nice.
Yeah, but it's just been a series of replacing stuff like that. So we got like a heat pump water heater, which like basically takes it's this crazy thing where it like takes the like heat out of the air surrounding it through a fan and turns that into like hot water and expels the cold from it. And it's just like the technology is kind of nuts.
So is there no tank anymore?
No, there still is a tank of water. Yeah, it's not like an on-demand one, which is like a tankless design. We thought about that too, and those are a lot smaller. But this was supposed to be like the most energy efficient thing, and it's our like local utility company was offering a really good deal to do it, like 0% financing to like get this one that's already picked out, and they already had the contractor picked out, and you just had to basically say, I want to do this, and you can. And I'm like, oh geez, we've been talking about doing this at some point, and this kind of fell in our lap. Might as well just do it now. So all that to say, we did that. But before we could do that, we had to clear out our garage because a lot of our apartment stuff and whatever else was also still like in there from our move, and like it was like kind of organized but not really, because you get like stuff in the mail, and then those cardboard boxes are in there, and there's just like bikes that kind of don't work, and this and that, and like game boxes that I've been holding on to forever, and like just a bunch of stuff, right?
Yep.
Like, so the last 3-4 days we've been like, once we're done with work and put Fiona down to go to sleep, we've just been all hands on deck since we felt better to like clear out the garage so that it was like in a better condition and like rearranged, and we got rid of a bunch of stuff and donated a bunch of stuff. And
did you keep those game boxes? Did you get rid of game boxes?
Of course, I'm a knucklehead, so I had to keep the very important game boxes that take up real estate in my house.
I know. I'm so torn on like there's like some of them I definitely want to, like I still have a bunch of like Game Boy Advance game boxes that like I didn't keep a lot of my like Super Nintendo era. I was too young to know what I was doing back then.
Yeah.
But I would definitely keep those if I had them. But then I like still have like the outer box for like Wii Play, and I'm just like, what am I doing with this? Like, why do I still have this like tucked away somewhere? It's always like making its way. Like, it's one thing to keep like the Super Mario, like I can't remember if it was 25th or 30th. I think it was 25th anniversary, the thing on the Wii.
Yeah.
That came with like the soundtrack, but in like a DVD case. Like, it's like, okay, that outer cardboard box, even though mine kind of ripped actually.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, I'll keep that. But We Play, do I really need to have this box? Like now that I'm getting ready to move, I feel like I'm kind of in like a similar mode that you were in the garage. Just like, okay, what do I really need to keep here? What boxes of these do I need?
Yep.
What can I get rid of?
Yep.
So far I'm kind of I haven't like axed anything yet, but I do have furniture that I'm just like I'm leaving this behind.
Yeah, and I mean, if you've gotten your use out of it, that's fine. And someone else will probably grab it anyway if you just put it outside for what that's worth. Like,
yeah, you know, I've gotten some of my furniture that way.
I mean, yeah,
us too. It fits my record player perfectly. Look at that thing, and it's like somebody clearly just set this outside because they're moving or something.
Yeah,
you know?
We've done that countless times. There's like that's the right move. Like
in the city,
anything?
In the city, and if you like, if it hasn't like rained or something where it's going to get all mildewy, if it's something that's like, and I don't think I would take anything like, I was going to say, I don't think I'd take anything like a couch. Like if it was like a fabric couch, I wouldn't want to be like lounging on some alley couch,
right.
But
yeah, I'd say
if it's like
we've taken like bar stools and we've taken, like strollers and things like that.
Oh, nice.
Stuff
I've
like
gotten
that.
like a bookshelves and like nice shelf that like fits like a record player on top of it perfectly. And then I actually just put like notebooks and stuff underneath, but I can't remember. Maybe it didn't fit, but it looked like it was going to be like perfect height to then like also put like a, 25 records or whatever, like underneath the thing. It might be a little too, not quite high enough for that, but still, I found like a bunch of little side tables and little just one-off things. And again, like literally at the end of the month, if you live in a city, it's just like ripe for the picking. People just like, hey, this is just easier. Like, they either, because a lot of times I'm like overly ambitious, like, okay, I'm going to donate all this stuff. And then like the moving date creeps up on me and I'm just like, okay, I got to just dump this, some of it,
Yep.
I donate as much as I can, but there's always some stuff that gets just left behind or whatever. So,
and there's some stuff that Goodwill won't take anyway. So it's
exactly. What
are you supposed to do?
I'm in a situation where this is actually the first apartment I've ever lived in where I just had like a move-in fee when I moved in. I didn't have like a deposit. So like I just paid the fee when I moved in and I'm not going to get it back, but I don't have to like do anything before I leave.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, okay, I might like some of the IKEA furniture and whatever and some of the stuff. I'll just leave it in the building and they can move it out. I'm going to take out as much as I can because I really do like the landlords here. Like he used to come to the restaurant I work at all the time. But given my health condition and stuff, I don't want to be like trying to lug, desks outside by myself.
Not by yourself. No, absolutely not.
Thankfully, Johnny Boy lives right across the street. Not to take advantage, but he's already been like, let me know when you're moving anything. I'll give you a hand.
So you are actively moving. I can tell the shelves behind you no longer have Criterion DVDs.
Not a single one. All the DVDs and Blu-rays in that case, but mostly Blu-rays, but some DVDs.
Yeah.
But they're all packed up.
Wow.
I think, did I tell you that like I got like that thing in the mail, or not in the mail, they slid it under my door. I think maybe I only was talking about it to John, or he was over when it happened. I think we might have talked about it on the podcast, but like they put that notice saying like they were taking everybody off month to month, started and like upping the rent by a little bit. Yeah. So I was just kind of like, rather than, I'm not going to like sign another year lease or anything like that. And again, being that I know the landlord and I think he likes me. I like him. I'm pretty sure like
you've been there a while.
Yeah, I think like 6 or 7 years now or something. Yeah. So, and this is the first time they've ever raised the rent. So I'm not even upset. It's more just like it just nudged up my, like I kept saying, okay, I'm going to move by April. Okay, I'm going to move by October. Okay, I'm going to move by the end of the year. And then it's like, okay, nope, I'm moving by October 1st because I'm not about to sign another year lease. Like I said, I'm sure I could talk to him and be like, hey, can I stay till December, and sign a lease to then and then be out. But I'm just kind of like, I might as well. Maybe this is the kick in the butt that I needed because I just kept pushing it off. So
man.
Yeah, so that's the plan. I'm actually tomorrow morning, assuming I feel like it, I might end up going back Saturday, but Saturday's my mom's birthday. So I was like, I'm going to load up my car, take a load of stuff home. Unfortunately, actually, just yesterday I found out that my aunt passed away.
Oh shit! I'm sorry. Man.
So it's kind of a double whammy. Going home for that. I don't know if they're doing a funeral or anything. They're always my dad's side of the family is always kind of weird about that stuff for whatever reason.
The aunt's on your dad's side.
Yeah, my dad's sister. Yeah, and she had been struggling for a while, so it's like it's obviously sad. And thanks by the way.
Yeah.
But Yeah, it's obviously sad, but it's kind of like as soon as I texted my cousin, he was like, oh man, he's like, when I got the news, he's like, as bad as this sounds, he's like, it's like the best news I've got in a long time, just knowing that she's not suffering anymore. So I think it was a little bit worse too than the rest of the family knew. She was kind of just like keeping it quiet, I think.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah, I've got some aunts in particular in that same sort of circumstance, and they've been hanging on for a while, but it's not great. Not a great life.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. It's hard to watch somebody you care about like that, just like struggling day to day. Like even knowing like, you know, the struggles that I have, which are nothing compared to that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I know how hard my day to day is to deal with. So I just can't even imagine, you know, I try to keep it in perspective, you know, between COVID going on or whatever virus these days. And then, obviously, you know, stuff like cancer or whatever. I'm just kind of like, okay, you know, I've got my struggles, my pain, my discomfort, and it is, you know, it can be infuriating and even borderline like debilitating at times, but it's just like, man, it could just be so much worse. Like it, you know, not that that's a good thing to put it in that perspective, but I guess it's helpful to just be like, man, okay, things can always be better, but they can always be worse.
Oh
too,
yeah,
so.
yeah. It's hard to complain too much when something like that smacks you in the face with an even harsher reality, right? It's like
you're just like, oh man, I just worry that my clothes, you know, feel twisted and uncomfortable, and it, you know, distracts me. Like, God, man, I just can't even imagine. So
right. Man.
Yeah, a little bit of a bummer because it's always like a bummer too when you're like, oh, I'm going home for my mom's birthday, like let's celebrate, and but this is going on in the background, you know. It's just kind of like, I don't know, but good timing, I guess, for the trip home. Regardless, I was looking forward to getting some of the boxes out of my apartment.
Sure, yeah,
just kind of like I've basically just been stuffing everything in a box and then stuffing that box into my bedroom. And I kind of not ran out. It's not like I can't get more. And I have some huge boxes left.
Yeah.
I picked up some boxes from my friend Shamika. And they gave me a bunch of their U-Haul boxes because she had just moved recently.
Yeah.
And but some of the boxes she gave me are just huge, and like the stuff that I would need to put in them are pretty freaking heavy. So I'm just like, I don't know if I can use these because like
I know,
like unless I just put like towels in here or something. That's like the only thing I can think of. Which I guess I could like put some clothes, but even still, these boxes are huge.
Yeah, you're right. Because most of the time, when we moved, we tried as much as possible to avoid. I can picture the type of box size you're talking about, and it's just like, it's just a backbreaker.
I don't even know what you're supposed to put in it. Like, they're definitely meant for like two
blankets,
people to carry. Yeah, I get pillows,
maybe.
Blankets, but even that's like can get kind of heavy.
Totally,
clothes and stuff. But yeah. It's brutal. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the movie. It's like I'm dreading it and looking forward to it at the same time. I just kind of like. We were actually talking with, like once I had mentioned that I was getting ready to move the Malo band that I play with. Yeah. Like Jacqueline was reaching out like, oh, we got to, you know, try to record before you leave. And like I was at first was kind of like, yeah, let's try to maybe figure it out. And I, you know, after a couple like actually thinking about it and just like, I was just like, I'm already stressed out as heck about moving. Like maybe after. And like eventually I was just like, okay, right now, I just can't play drums, and like I just don't even want to think about it right now. Like I might be able to like jump behind the kit and play for a few minutes, but like I really can't be like practicing and like even when it comes to like singing or playing like guitar. Like as the last time that we got together and did like a boss fight jam session too without Glenn, but just with John and our buddy Mikey, and I think our buddy Dan was there with us too. But like it was like a week or two or like after that where I was just like wiped out. My body was killing me, like even more than usual. So I was just like, you know, like if the juices are flowing and like on that one night and it's just like, okay, yeah, let's jam and I'm feeling up for it. And like, I'll pay the price the coming days, but I just can't really be like, okay, we're going to commit to jamming on Wednesday at this time and working on the songs and, you know, going to the studio, or even if it was like a smaller scale recording, you know, but just, I was just like, I just don't have it in the tank right now, even to like have the heart to like care enough about it, you know, like I just don't I just like can't put my heart into it. Not care enough about it's not the right way to put it, but I don't have like, I can't put my heart into it right now because I just don't have enough energy.
When you're in chronic pain, it saps your energy.
Exactly. That's the perfect word. Truly. Yeah. Truly.
It does. No, there's no doubt about it. Like, and I'm not, I wouldn't even say I have chronic pain. I just have like chronic muscle, like irritation, and it's enough to like sap my energy and like pull like 10% of my brain away, right? You know, it's just like, but it's nothing on like your level. That's disappointing because I know you were doing that program and it seemed like things were getting a little bit better for a while there.
Well, the thing is, I still do feel like I'm getting a little bit better and making slow and steady improvements, but that's part of why I kind of made the decision to just be like, I can't do it right now, and probably not. Like, I just don't want to even have it on the plate right now. Like, I just want to be like, okay, I'm not a drummer right now. Maybe I will be again someday, but like right now, I'm just not drumming anymore.
Yeah.
like in a band, you know,
drumming in particular. Yeah.
But even honestly, singing is like just as brutal, like the tightness of like my muscles and stuff, like until I can get that under control. And maybe the singing will help. Like, I do think about a lot, like, hey, I used to drum and sing all the time, and now I don't use those muscles anymore.
Yeah.
So part of me is like, maybe I need to start doing those things again. But what I was thinking is like, once I started improving was when I finally stopped, because I got in that cycle of like, feel a little bit better. I think I've said this before, but like, feel a little bit better. Then, you know, okay, I'm feeling better. Now start like applying for jobs like crazy. And just like that became my main focus. And then I lost track of the physical stuff. And then I started slipping, started feeling like shit again. Then I'm like, I can't imagine even working. And like, you know, a couple interviews fall through, and then all of a sudden you're back at square one. So I was like, honestly, and once I'd like just decided, okay, I'm definitely going to move home. I don't know exactly when, but I'm going to move back to Michigan, and I'm going to just focus on my health situation until I can get it under control. Like, you know, that, and like just focusing on that. And it doesn't involve all that much, you know, it's just like me doing the few, you know, exercise with the resistance bands and the medicine ball and all the various things, or not the medicine ball, but the yoga ball. And just doing those exercises. And I was like, the thing that's helped me is just sticking to that regimented routine, like not varying from that at all. Like, I might take a break or go a little harder on some days, but I'm not really like throwing into the mix like band practice and, you know, bartending or any of the stuff like I used to do. And like, I have been making some minor improvements. So I'm just like, I can't throw that into the mix, you know. And then again, if I would have like committed to that, and then now my aunt passing away, it's just like, oh man, like it would just be way too, like, not that I knew that was going to happen, but just like I can't have the music stuff on my plate other than, you know, just a jam for fun. Or
I mean, even if it's a thing you like doing, it's another thing to do, right? And it's and it might be like a thing that I can like maybe noodle around with like my MIDI keyboards or like play some acoustic. Like, I still might be able to noodle around with like some home recordings in the basement once I'm back home, or once I have like a setup to, you know, do some stuff and have it like conveniently ready to go when I'm feeling up to it. But it's just like, I just like can't like envisioning myself like spending a whole day in the studio and, you know, being behind the kit, whether even being behind the kit or not, but just like, you know, like you were saying, like your brain gets pulled away when you're in like the pain and stuff. Like, there's sometimes when I'm streaming and I'm like, I can feel the pain creeping in, and I'm like, okay, I got to wrap this up soon, because I can clearly feel myself like, you know, kind of falling out of the zone or whatever. Yep. It's irritating, but there's nothing you can do besides stick to the routine of trying to get better.
Yeah, and it's a goal to strive towards, you know, to be like, because I did say, I was like, my goal is to eventually get back to feeling up to playing music, but I just gotta like, I gotta not have like all these things that I'm trying to get back to doing this and doing this and doing this, and you know, I gotta one step at a time. Like, and it does suck because like, again, it's like I don't want to walk around and, you know, be bitching about my pain all the time, or, you know, and it's not, you know, it doesn't even justify it most of the time because you just deal with it. But like, you know, I do, like, again, like if you hear me talking, or if you just, you know, if you just meet me at the grocery store or whatever, you know, you're never going to know that I'm in chronic pain, really, you know. It's only like if it actually like affects my life, and if it like comes into play in my relationship with you in some way, then you'll know about it. But like otherwise, like there's no real reason to talk about it all the time, you know. Because it's exhausting. It's like all you think about all the time. So like, honestly, when you're like talking to somebody else, it's like, oh, finally, just a break from a distraction. So. Yeah.
I hear that. Yeah. Well, you're doing the move. You're making the move.
I'm looking forward to it. I could tell my dad was kind of stressing out because I was like, I'm going to, you know, bring some boxes back, and I don't know where I'm going to put them, you know, because they just put a little expansion on the house. So I was like, oh, you know, I could tell my dad's stressing out. So I texted my brother like, hey, do you have some room in the basement if I need to like chuck some things? Like I'm going to rent a storage unit.
Yeah.
Or do one of those pods or whatever. So I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm not even going to have to worry about it. But I was like, I could just feel Dad sweating it already.
Why? What does he think? You told him what was going to happen.
No, I think he's like thinking. I think he's thinking like I just got like we're just kind of getting things situated like with the addition and like getting things like sort of organized, and then I'm about to come in and dump all my shit in the house. So I get where he's coming from, but I was like, I don't really have that much stuff. It's not like, and I'm not looking to like.
You've never been someone that has a lot of stuff. I mean, you have your collections.
Like I have like but those don't like honestly like my Criterions and like games all fit within a handful of boxes. Like they don't take up that much space.
No, you've been pretty responsible about not letting it creep into a nightmare.
Yeah, and over the last, again, like since all the pandemic and being unemployed for so long and whatever, I've just kind of been like, hey, I'm just not really buying a ton of games. You know, I'll pick up a few things on sale here and there, or Strikers when it comes out, because thankfully I've still, you know, I'm bleeding through it, but I've still got some good savings where I'm like, okay, when it's something I really want to get and don't want to miss out on, I can snag it, and it, you know, doesn't totally break the bank. And I'm definitely lucky and fortunate to have a situation where I can crash with my folks for a little bit. I'm not looking to do that for very long. I'm definitely like, man, as soon as I can figure out a way to get back, but I'm like, it just definitely helps the cause of like, I don't have to like find a place while I'm trying to move at the same time. It's just like, okay, I can like get settled back in Michigan, have my stuff in like a storage unit or wherever I have it, and like give myself a little time to, you know, figure out some income and whatever, and you know, figure out a work situation, or, you know, in the meantime, my brother lives right down the street, just had the baby, so I can help out with that a little bit. I think my sister just moved home too. Like she's going to be moving back home. So the whole family's coming back to Michigan.
Your brother lives like literally down the street from your parents?
Like, you know, 5-10 minute drive max. Like they live on the same. Like they don't literally live on the lake, but like right around, like the neighborhood's right around the same lake. So it would be even closer if you didn't have to kind of go around the lake to get there. But yeah, super, super close.
Cool. That's nice.
So looking forward to like just doing stuff like, you know, like my brother was like, oh, I'm looking forward to doing football Sundays and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, you know, I've been like, because since I don't have like cable, or I don't even have an antenna or anything like that, like I've watched a couple Super Bowls and a few games here and there that I've randomly been able to catch on like Thursday night Amazon or whatever the heck, you know, I've been able to randomly see. But I've kind of fallen out of, I think we've talked about it a bunch on the podcast, where I'm like, oh man, every time I go home I catch like a little bit of sports action and it kind of wets my whistle a little bit, and I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of forgot about how into all this stuff I used to be, and like get sucked into it pretty easily again. So
Michigan's big for its sports. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. And it's like, again, like once you're around, like my cousin's really big into it. So like once you're around, like it's, you know, just like with like my friends here in Chicago, like when there was like a good crew of us that were into watching like the wrestling and stuff, it was like, okay, I'll just lean into this wrestling stuff because, like, yeah, it's enjoyable enough.
Oh, yeah.
And it's an excuse to get together, you know, once a month or once every other month for a pay-per-view,
Absolutely.
You know? So,
no, and actually, the last one I watched, SummerSlam, was actually pretty entertaining.
Nice.
Yeah. We have Peacock both for... So I can watch my silly wrestling, and Fiona can watch Curious George. So, you know, that's...
I forgot about that, like, merger, because, like, it's sort of weird, because do they still have all the, like, old stuff, too, on there? Like, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Is it, like, its own separate, like, part of Peacock?
I mean, sort of. Like, there's different categories at the top, and one of the categories, like, most of them are genres or saying, like, you know, kids or movies or TV, and then there's one that's just WWE is a category.
Gotcha.
And then it's just like its own little channel portal, basically.
Okay, because I was going to say, I could imagine it being like just a fucking mess if they're all just mixed in. You're like, let me check out the sports section, and they literally have like every episode of Monday Night Raw ever aired.
Yep.
I don't know if it's that extreme. I know they have all the pay-per-views, but I'm pretty sure they have all the like shows, or at least the vast majority of them.
I think they do. I mean, certainly the old school stuff, there's like a ton of that. I think there's probably some right stuff with like the newly aired stuff probably can't go up on there besides the pay-per-views, but no, it's and I mostly just watch the pay-per-views and occasional like documentary about some old wrestler or whatever, but that's pretty much the extent of what I'm using it for currently.
And you only watch. I'm guessing you only watch those documentaries when it just auto rolls after you finish watching the pay-per-view, and you're just like, oh yeah, I kind of remember Batista or whatever.
No, it'd be like one was like a Mick Foley one, and I'm like, oh yeah, I like Mick Foley. I'll watch Mick Foley's documentary.
Some of those like like legendary wrestlers, they're kind of like a little more. Yeah, there's like a little more of a story there.
Yeah.
Like I would even be down to watch like Shawn Michaels or I'm kind of over Undertaker.
Yeah, Undertaker is pretty. I am the same. I'm like, please let I know people liked Undertaker. I guess I didn't watch. Like my heyday of watching wrestling would have been like right around the time like I was entering like late middle school, early high school. Which, yes, Undertaker was around, but he wasn't really the main deal by that point. I think his real heyday was more like mid 90s, and that was before I was really watching. So like the only Undertaker I knew was the Limp Bizkit American Badass.
Coming out on the motorcycle.
From there just got like, and then he got older and older, and I wasn't watching for like at least a 10-15 year span, and then for some reason he was still around, and I'm like, oh no, this guy's just too old to do this anymore, and I don't have the nostalgia to put up with this.
It was painful. I had the nostalgia, at least to it. Not like, again, I was never like a diehard wrestling fan.
Yeah.
Like I mostly liked it through my cousin growing up, but like I've just always like known people who liked it, so inevitably watched it and enjoyed it. But yeah, like for like 5 years in a row, we would get together for WrestleMania. I'm just like, and they'd make this huge deal. Oh, Undertaker's gonna be fighting AJ Styles, and you're like, Undertaker's gonna die in this match, like for real. Roll him out in a casket, for real.
Yeah.
Like there was one match against Roman Reigns, and I think he ended up coming back like 2 more years after this, at least one, because I remember thinking like, okay, there's no way he comes back after this, but he like tombstones Roman Reigns, and you could tell he's like just his knees just like buckle. I'm like, he's gonna break his neck, man. Like
you're gonna kill
not his
you're
own.
Gonna kill the talent.
Exactly.
Undertaker. You shouldn't be doing this anymore.
Like, and it almost felt like he knew that every one of those matches wasn't that great, and then he was like, I gotta go out on a better one, and I'm like, well, next year you're not gonna be better. You're gonna be even worse.
Yeah. Like,
and it's
best,
like you had your heyday, like just retire, like
you had
go
your
out
heyday,
on a note, lose to somebody, and just that's the end of your career. That's how every legend goes out. They get like taken down by their like either their rival or the new next up and comer. It's it's a little bit cliche, but
like Shawn Michaels did with
Ric
Flair. Although Ric Flair just wrestled again a few days ago.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Yes.
God, talk about a freaking madman. But he's in better shape than Undertaker, probably still. I bet he's at least got like the tenacity.
Oh,
if not, like Undertaker just looked like he was like sluggishly like. Ric Flair just looks like he's like literally about to pop at any time you see him.
When you live your life on the edge for 60 years or so, I think that's how it goes.
Some of those, when you see those old like 80s, I guess maybe even like early 90s a little bit, but mostly those 80s wrestling like promos.
Ooh.
They are so brutal and cringe and like just so like not just him too, like all of them, but they're just like screaming at the screen like, oh man, it's just
steroids and cocaine is probably a hell of a mixture, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Seems like the 80s and 90s were pretty wild times at WWE. It's kind of nice to see. I think Vince McMahon's just like he's gone now. Yeah,
he's completely out, which was also why I was excited to watch SummerSlam. And
that kind of has me a little more interested too. Like it almost has me wondering if like with Cody Rhodes just coming back, because that kind of left like a shitty taste in my mouth, because I was all like rooting for AEW, stick it to WWE. I hope they grow even bigger than them. And I'm like, how is like one of the founding members of AEW, and from best that everybody says, it's like he literally just went back for the money. It's like, how does that happen? Like that seems just so lame.
It seems
unless it was like planned all along or something.
I don't know if it was planned all along. I think there was like a contract thing with AEW, and I know like obviously he comes from, wrestling royalty, where his dad wrestled for WWE in the past, and he wrestled for WWE in the past too.
Yeah.
So I think the idea was like, oh, I made myself like a bigger deal at the rival company, and now I'm going to come back as like a superstar, and you're going to treat me like such and pay me like such, and
That's true, because he always was kind of like, just like, he wasn't like a jobber, but he definitely was just kind of like, he'd be in matches and he'd win, and they'd even give him like a little run here and there. But I actually remember, like, it was when I was watching, I think I was still living in Michigan, so it was a long time ago. But like, they would occasionally, maybe even they were a full-blown tag team, but it was him and Ted DiBiase's son.
Oh, wow.
As like a tag team together. And Ted DiBiase's son, I don't even remember what his first name was. It might have just been, been Ted.
Yeah.
But he was kind of bland and just kind of boring and lame.
Sure.
And Cody, paired with him, also was kind of boring and lame. I remember there was one, I think it was just a Monday Night Raw or whatever, because on Mondays I would go over to my cousin's house and we would watch, I think we would watch a movie and then watch Raw, or vice versa, or we would just like play video games. It was just kind of like a routine. And there was one episode of Raw where Cody Rhodes like said something about he was just like talking, before a match or whatever, just like talking a little crap or whatever.
Sure.
And said something about like the timekeeper, but he was like, we're gonna have to call in a guest time keener. And just, he said it with like so much confidence, and then like didn't do anything to correct himself, just kept going. It was just so funny.
Moving on. Keep going.
And I remember like we were like digging everywhere on YouTube trying to find that clip. I don't think we ever found it, but. So, because somebody in the crowd was just like, time keener.
The time keener.
You can always count on the wrestling fans. That's another thing that gets lame about wrestling, though, too. Is just fans, like well, the chanting, like, it's like, do you have to do do you have to do the yes, yes, yes chant like every single time?
I can live with that more than I can live with the fucking what thing. That drives me insane.
Just like any of the stuff that's just like part of the script practically, where it's just like,
annoying.
Somebody said, "Oh, Ric Flair, woo, woo!" Like, it's fun for a second, but
I get it. Like,
when it's like call and response the whole time, it's like, oh,
yeah. It's like y'all aren't part of. I mean, you're kind of part of the show, but you're really trying too hard to be part of the show. Fans, like, calm down for a second, But I get it. People, a lot of people, they only go to one show and they want to see their favorite wrestlers, and they're getting excited about it
and be part of it.
Drinks. So it's.
I gotta say the best one that they ever came up with was back before they were on the Peacock network and they had their own WWE network. I think is just all it was called. It was $9.99 a month, and just all the time people would just chant $9.99.
Oh my god,
$9.99. They probably were like promoting it on like the jumbotron or whatever. But I always thought that was hilarious. Like, we're just watching a pay-per-view and everyone's $9.99.
That's funny.
Pretty good stuff.
No, it's that SummerSlam was better, and apparently Triple H is the one that's the head of creative running the show, and that's what people have wanted for a long time. So,
and I will say, when my friends would like, because like DJ would always like watch every week like Raw and SmackDown, and like for the most part I would just pay attention, like you were saying, like pay-per-views and stuff. But I would for a while because I had access to my buddy Glenn's WWE network, so. I would sometimes watch the NXT episodes, and it was when everybody at least said, like, oh, this is like Triple H is why this is so awesome.
Thing. Yeah.
And, it was sweet. And I will say most of those people that were wrestling there, I shouldn't say most of them, but a lot of them are over at AEW now.
Oh.
And it definitely makes me want to watch because, I absolutely, NXT was awesome. Like, it felt like the old school, like 90s era, like when I used to love wrestling, or at least it was into it a little bit more as a kid, but without, like, it still had the over the top and like the kind of, like, not quite insane, like violence, but they definitely a little bit more like because once like WWE went TV PG, which I don't know how they get away with that, but once they did, like, they really like stopped doing all like the just super gross stuff.
Right.
But at least there's like less of that in AEW. Like like it has that same energy of that era of wrestling, but it doesn't have like the just super like gross side of things, or at least I didn't see that.
That's good because the hyper violence and the bloody faces and stuff gets that's not really my bag. I'm not really
and just like
that.
Val Venus coming out there in like a towel and like hello ladies, it's just like I'm not really here for that. I've got like AEW is kind of like actually about the wrestling. Like they actually like every wrestler, like they keep their stats. Like they have like a stat card. Like when they have a match, like it'll be like, oh, they're 13-3 and whatever.
Like boxers, basically.
Yeah, like they basically like pretend like there's a running from the day the company started to to the day it ends. Theoretically, they're going to keep everybody's stats, which is I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And I'll say I did it. Oof. But it was gruesome. You probably heard about it, like Cody Rhodes' match against Seth Rollins, like a few months back, in a cage. And
I don't know. I don't know if I heard about it.
So Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes had like a series of matches, but I caught this last one, which was a Hell in a Cell cage match, and but Cody Rhodes had like a legitimate pectoral like tear.
Oh yes,
and his whole chest was purple, and it was.
I did see that.
It was like I kind of didn't even want to watch it, but but you can't say that guy doesn't like wrestling. Oh my god!
Yeah. Oh, he's a diehard. There's no doubt about it. Because I did see. I think DJ showed me that, because I think last time we talked, like we were talking about that like multiplayer session that John, DJ, and I had. And he left his sunglasses over here, and so a couple days later he was like, "Hey, you want to grab some breakfast?" And I could pick up my sunglasses, and we ended up hanging out a little more.
Yeah.
And he was telling me about that Cody Rhodes thing. And he showed me a picture, and I was just like, "Oh man!"
They did not. That was brutal. Not makeup. They didn't fake that, because it got more purple in the ring as time went on. It was. It was gruesome.
And you could just tell as like something like burst.
Yes,
bursted inside of him.
Yes.
Like, a whole chain of blood vessels. It was something.
Yeah. So he cares. You can't say he doesn't care. That's for sure.
Yeah. Oh man, that's funny that you're getting into the wrestling stuff again. At least even just a little bit. It's like a.
It's just a brain dead popcorn, quasi sports entertainment thing to watch, and and it's big spectacle, and I'm. When I'm otherwise very busy, it's just a way to kind of turn off your brain at night once a month or so.
Something on to occupy your mind a little bit. It's even like maybe even perfect if you're not watching it. Like, because most of the time I was like getting together with friends, but when I would just like watch NXT, I would be like playing some Switch or working on something else on the side, and just kind of like. Especially if you're watching it after the fact, you can just kind of rewind like, I missed something. That was kind of exciting.
Fast forward through a match you don't care about, which, that's exactly how I watch most of those. I don't typically watch them live.
Yeah.
I get the replay that night when it's on, and I fast forward through probably like most of half of the matches until
and all
like
the talking and stuff, like especially WWE can be so egregious with that stuff. And some of the announcers are so annoying. You're just like, oh my God. They're funny, but I don't even know who announces anymore. But
although they're saying also some of that stuff was heavily influenced by Vince McMahon, where he was like in their ear the whole time. So they're even saying that stuff is like potentially going to be better than it was before.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay, I'm curious to see. It's not like he's still not going to reap the benefits in some way, shape, or form.
He's still got the stocks, but he's not involved anymore at all. Apparently.
It's just definitely nice to just be like, get that guy out of here. I've been kind of waiting for the day, and I'm kind of glad it's not like, oh, he's dead. Like, because I don't want to be like, good, he's dead, get out of here.
Right. Right.
But it feels better to be like, oh, cool. Like now I don't think people really liked him anyways.
No.
Now people like can be like justifiably point at reasons to actively hate him and be like, okay, he sucks, and be done with it.
Yep.
Good old Vincent. Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
Oh my God. His middle name was Kennedy.
Shane O'Mac. Good old Shane O'Mac. I do like Shane. I don't know. I don't know about as a real person, but I always like.
He's not involved, surprisingly. I figured he would have been involved but no, not really.
He comes in and out because
Yeah.
he left for a while and then he'd come back in and then he would leave for a while. I think him and Vince have I would wager, I'm sure their whole family has a weird relationship.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I mean, any family, if you got that much money and running a business together, it's got to be complicated.
Yeah. I'm sure he said some very sweet things to his only son,
Yeah. Yep.
Boy.
And the thing, I mean, talking about putting it on the line for the company too. That guy's done some fucking crazy.
Yeah, all he's known for is basically doing like the Mick Foley spots, like the mankind fall from 1,000,000 feet in the air spots.
Say a little prayer and jump off the scaffolding.
God.
And just like, oh man, yeah, either that or like doing his I think it's called the coast to coast, where he like jumps all the way across from turnbuckle to the other side of the ring and kicks somebody, usually with like a trash can or something. What a weird signature move, because I feel like it's always a steel like aluminum trash can.
Sure.
He sets him up in the corner with like the trash bin wedged between the ropes. I guess it's usually typical under the ring.
You need to be a little, clever with your cheats and your gimmicks when you're not going to be the best wrestler out there. You got to find another avenue. So
yeah, and he'd always have the fancy footwork. Mm-hmm. I always did. I would always root for him in a weird way.
Oh, me too.
He's underdog every time.
He's always
he's never expected to win, and again, he's always going to throw it out there. So
yeah, yep.
You could tell he's like, okay, this is my one match. This is the one chance I'm going to get. So this year to have like a match that matters. So.
Which I mean, like, if you're going to throw your body on the line like that, you at least you're only doing it like once-ish a year. So you got time to recover.
Yeah. I just worry, man, is that guy ever prepared physically for that? I don't know. I'm sure he does always look pretty jacked and roided up as well.
Sure,
so.
Why not? So was Vince in his like 60s.
Yeah, he got in the ring quite a few times, pretty late in his career. And like he would look like super old, but still like super hulked out at the same time, just like wearing those black tank tops, just like, oh man. Kind of looking like a psychopath.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much. Suits him well. Suits him well. Mm-hmm. Always got those bursting blood vessels or like whatever, those veins in the corner of his temples.
What steroids and things do for you. And lots of stress.
Totally.
And that's the wrestling segment. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. I'm surprised we had that much to talk about on the wrestling end. That's great.
Yeah, I guess that's one of my guilty pleasures, I suppose.
Hey, it was for me for a long time. Especially when like Glenn and DJ and I would hang out.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, excuse. Like it was like almost for a while. It was like my place is the get together for wrestling.
Apparently, one last wrestling thing is apparently the developer of like WWF No Mercy and WrestleMania 2000.
I was just going to bring up those games, yeah.
So the developer, or at least some folks involved, maybe the producer, director, some folks involved with those games is developing the AEW game that apparently is going to release pretty soon. So I'm I've had like a side eye on that for a little while. Like,
I don't even know why I didn't even consider there being an AEW video game.
Yeah, they've been working on one. So
that's interesting.
I'm curious.
Who made those? That wasn't Jack's.
No, I want to say Ukes,
right?
but that might not be correct either. THQ is the publisher.
Yeah, I think Jack's was the action figures now that I think about it. or one of the brands. I used to collect a bunch, like the Bendums. Did you ever get those figurines? They were like kind of like Gumby style figurines.
Oh, yeah.
I was such a sucker for those.